bunch of the boys were whooping it up at the Toss 'em Down saloon. They were drinking a toast to a man from the coast named Prospector Pete Magoon. Magoon, so they say, hit town one dark day and rode down the main thoroughfare. He had seen at a glance that some strange circumstance had filled the town with despair. He hopped off his steed and gave him some feed, then turned to a citizen old. "What's happened up here," he called in his ear, "to this town so rich with gold?" The old man's reply with a tear in his eye gave a story of sadness and blight. "Our gold's done run out. There's no more hereabout." With a sob he went out in the night. Now Magoon was no dope. He knew there was hope, for he had seen all this happen before. When there's gold all about, some men tend to grow stout, and hard work becomes quite a bore. When their gold then is gone, it does suddenly dawn that they're now without any cash. Since they don't recollect just how to prospect, their T-bones then turn into hash. So Magoon spoke up at a meeting. "Your distress will be fleeting if you'll go home and pack up your gear. To get out of the slumps, you must get off your rumps and prospect for gold, do you hear?" Well, that very same day, Magoon leading the way, the men went out looking for gold. They scratched and they panned in all kinds of land, till Eureka! They struck riches untold. They cheered cheers of joy. Magoon was their boy. They carried him home like a king. Their fortune had turned, for from him they had learned, to be rich, you must start prospecting. And that means you too. It's what you must do in this year when all chips are down. Prospecting's the way to increase your pay and sell Buicks all over the town.
Well, thank you, Prospector Pete. You know, today, prospecting is just as important as it was back in the gold rush days. Time and again, it's been proved that the salesman who does the best job of prospecting makes the most money. The reason is simple. Nationwide surveys show that fewer than 30% of potential new car buyers have been contacted by a car salesman. Think of that. Less than 30%. That means that more than 70% are ripe for a contact by a car salesman. What a gold mine.
Where do you find prospects for Buick? The answer is everywhere. You know some of the sources, but let's go over them again. First, the prospects you can find without even leaving your dealership. One of the most important is the walk-in, one of your most valuable sales sources, as you well know. He walks in because he's already interested in a car. He's already interested in a Buick. He's already interested in your dealership. So pour it on. Give the walk-in a whale of a sales talk. Give him the works. Be sure to get him inside Buick for a demonstration ride. If you don't succeed at first, don't give up. He's still a red-hot prospect. So get his name and all the information you can and put him on your prospect list. Then keep after him till he signs the dotted line. Buick owners are another source of hot prospects. They're already in the Buick family. More than 72% say they'll buy Buick again. And with more people driving Buicks than any car except two of the little three, 72% represents a lot of prospects. Your chief job with these Buick owners is to convince them that now is the time to trade, always keeping in mind, of course, that they may be ready to step up to a higher series. Registration lists of competitive owners are another source of Buick prospects. Combing these lists is a tougher job, but it pays off for the salesman who sticks with it. Your best bets are owners of 2- and 3-year-old cars. Go after owners of Chrysler products, especially Plymouth. Many of them are vulnerable because of this year's radical change in the line. In fact, Many Plymouth owners are probably horrified at the desperation styling and the four-passenger seating space in the 57 Plymouth. They may be ready to buy a new car, but don't know where to turn. They're your meat. Turn them to Buick. Same thing applies to owners of other Chrysler products, especially Dodge and DeSoto, as well as to Mercury. They're all right smack in the Buick price class and could be looking for the right car to switch to. Finance company lists are another good source of prospects. Look for the people who have just finished paying for their present cars or who have only a payment or two left. Usually they've been driving their cars long enough to be thinking about trading in. Your local newspapers are still another source of prospects. Look for the names of prominent local people, men appointed to new jobs, newly promoted military men, and so forth. Look particularly for new McGinty's. Your McGinty list is an important source of prospects. McGinty's are always potential new car buyers, worth following up time and time again. One of these days, they will say yes. You remember from the McGinty film that there are McGinty's in every walk of life, in every organization, in every neighborhood. Get a McGinty in a Buick, and you stand a chance of swinging a lot more prospects to Buick. And you. These are just some of the ways you can find prospects' names without ever leaving your dealership. There are others, if you give your imagination a little exercise.
Now let's take a look at some of the sources you find outside your dealership. Be sure you have some key people working for you. People who meet and talk to a lot of other people, and so can tip you off to prospects. Your key people can be almost anyone who comes in contact with the public. There are plenty of people in your neighborhood who'll be glad to bird dog for you. Canvassing the neighbors of a new Buick owner is a technique used by many salesmen to uncover prospects. As Prospector Pete says,
When I make a gold strike, I always follow the vein for the real payoff. That's why I say it'll pay off for you to follow the vein too, every time you make a sale.
the 4 up, 4 down, 4 across pattern is the vein to follow every time you make a sale. That means calling on the 4 neighbors up the street, down the street, and across the street from your new Buick customer. These neighbors have seen that new gleaming beauty outside, and the old green monster envy has had its chance to go to work. He'll be working for you if you follow up in a hurry. Get them outside and inside your demonstrator. Then give them the works while you give them a ride. Of course, it helps to have their names before you call. You'll never have trouble getting the names of your customers' neighbors if you always politely but firmly insist on at least 2 names from each of your customers. Then when you make your call, you can learn the other neighbors' names during your conversations. Check your city directory before you go out. It can give you a lead on who lives where and can be a question starter that'll bring out the facts. You'll find other prospects by keeping your eyes open for older cars ready for trading. Get in the habit of carrying a small notebook to jot down their license numbers. Then locate the owner's name from state or municipal records. These are just some of the places you can find prospects. But develop your own special sources too. However, that's only the first part of the prospecting job. You've got to go after the prospects, and that takes a plan. A plan is the only way you can keep track of what you've done and what you're going to do. Keep up-to-date records. That means keeping a prospect file on indexed cards with one prospect's name to a card. Direct mail is a good way to make your first contact. Your dealership provides you with mailers you can address yourself. The recent Operation Door Opener, directed at the owners of Chevrolet, Ford, Plymouth, Olds, Pontiac, Mercury, and Dodge, is an example of the many nationwide mailings Buick itself sends out. Many salesmen write their own direct mail pieces in longhand. Some go even further when they have established contact by sending birthday and holiday greetings. They keep in close touch. But of course, the best direct mail piece is no better than your follow-up. You must follow up direct mailings within 3 or 4 days, or your golden opportunity is lost. Most salesmen follow up by telephone, the modern prospector's best friend. Knowing how to use the telephone is one of your most important assets as a prospector because it saves your time. The first rule is always have your prospect's card in front of you. That way you'll get his name right and you'll have all the dope at hand. Then try to get your man talking about himself so you can fill in any blanks on your prospect card. Find out about his present car. Is he satisfied with it, and so on. You may be able to spot some weak feature of his car that's a strong point of the '57 Buick and go right into a sales talk to arrange for a demonstration. Actually ask for an appointment and phrase it in such a way that it's hard for him to say no. If he does say no, leave the way open for a future contact. Jot down on your prospect card when you should call again. Always remember, the time of your call has an important effect on its success. Try to call a man at his office in the slow period, right after lunch, or his home after he's finished dinner. Usually from 7:30 to about 9:30 is a good time for an evening call. More and more salesmen are learning that daytime calls to the lady of the house pay off, simply because it's often the wife who decides when and what to buy. A phone call to her during the day may commit her husband to a demonstration drive he might have tried to avoid otherwise. You know, many wives really enjoy a chance for a chat during the day. Often all it takes is a few questions and she'll tell you the whole family history. Maybe something she says will be your golden key to a sale. You can often find out quickly from a phone conversation the 3 key factors of a prospect. Can he buy? Will he buy? And what will make him buy? In other words, can he afford a new car now? And if so, is he interested in buying? And if so, what is he looking for in a new car? The answers determine your follow-up. If a prospect seems hot, quickly follow up with a personal call. The very fact that you and your demonstrator are there makes it hard for him to refuse a demonstration ride. You may want to leave your demonstrator with him overnight or over a weekend. He'll not only have a chance to compare it with his old car in his own driving situation, but he'll hate to give it up after he's had it a day or so. After he buys, try to get from him not only the names of some of his neighbors, but also people outside his neighborhood who might be interested in a new Buick, and ask for permission to use his name to help you on your initial contact. When you ask him for names, be specific. Ask him if any of the boys where he works are interested in a new car, or the men he bowls with, or friends at church, or his club, or his lodge, his relatives. Help him think of people. And be sure to keep in touch with him after you make the sale. Let him know you're interested in him and how he likes his new car. That way you'll make him a customer for life. Here's a good schedule to follow. Call him about 3 days after the sale to see how he likes his car. Offer your services to help straighten out any problems. Call again in 2 weeks and try for more prospects' names. Then check with him again in a month and every 3 months thereafter.
Direct mail, telephone, personal call. The 3 chief ways to contact your prospects. So decide how much time you're going to spend prospecting every day. Select a reasonable figure and stick with it. When it becomes routine, a daily habit, prospecting will pay off for you.
Before things get rough, get off your duff and start to put on the heat. Prospecting's the way to make the most hay. That's the story of Prospector Pete.